be about 5 minutes because we're only talking really through two standards. For F2, you have to show that you can use binomial theorem, which is this pattern, and the Pascal's triangle to expand the expression. You do have to know what the Pascal's triangle is. Remember that the pattern is you start with 1, 1, and 1, and then as you go down with the triangle, the number below is created by adding the two numbers above. So we go 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, because 1 plus 1 is 2, 1, 1, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 1 is 3, and then 1, and it goes on from there. Then remember you select the row or the constants based on the power. So we're in row 4 then, which how I did this problem is I started with a constant. So I said, okay, I'm in row 4, so I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. So I listed out 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Then I took my first term in my binomial. This one decreases in exponent each term. The second one increases in exponent each term. So I started with the 3x. I raised the 3x to the 4th, then 3x to the cubed, 3x squared, 3x to the 1st. And I think you can kind of tell from there what happened. Now, when you go to simplify, if you have a number in parentheses that's being raised to a power, remember that you also have to raise the number to the power. So 3 to the 4th is 81. That's how I got the 81 there. Anything raised to the 0 power is 1, so that's why it doesn't really appear anymore. Here, you'd have to raise the 3 first. So 3 cubed is 27. And then we'd multiply that 27 by this 4 and this 4 to get 432. Here, 3 squared is 9. And we'd multiply that 9 by 6 and by 16 to get that number. Here, 3 to the first is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. And then we'd multiply 12 by 4 cubed, which I think is 64, to get that number. Then here, you just get 4 to the 4th, which ends up being 768. The same pattern applies for B and for C, so all I'm going to do for B and C, since it's the same pattern, is really just show you the correct answers so you can check your work. So if you need to pause the video, I would do so. The only kicker here with C is that if you have a negative, I just always include it with the second term, so you'll notice every time I wrote down 2y squared, I put the negative with it. Where that plays a part is like in this scenario, you'd have negative 2 raised to the first power, so negative 2 times 4 gives me that negative 8. Here, negative 2 squared is positive 4, 4 times 6 is 24. And then negative 2 cubed here is negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. So you can kind of see how the negative plays a part there. For F24, you have to make sure you know how to explain how to make the triangle pattern and how to set up the expansion, basically explaining how to do the problem in words. So I didn't write out the actual explanation here, but you do have to make sure that you can tell me in words how the Pascal's triangle is formed, and then how to set up the pattern and what each term, like basically how I explained it in words before, that the first term in the binomial, you would increase an exponent as you go left to right. The second term of the binomial would increase an exponent left to right. This one would decrease an exponent left to right. And all of this is stuff from the other page. So we're going to flip to the back. When you're adding and subtracting fractions, make sure you factor all the denominators. So here, all I could do was factor out an x. Then I noticed I have two pieces. I have x plus 2 and an x. Those are my two pieces of my denominator. So this one, my first term needs an x in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply that by x over x. This one needs an x plus 2. Then I simplify the top, so 2x times x gives me 2x squared. There I distribute the 3 through to get that. And then once you get common denominators, you just add across on the top, and you would get that expression. Same thing for this. Factored x squared minus 4, because that's the difference of squares. Then I noticed, hey, this one needs an x minus 2, this one needs an x plus 2. Distributed the 3x through, distributed the 5x through, and then added across the top. For C, when you're dividing, make sure that, well, when you're dividing or multiplying, you can go through and factor all the numerators and denominators. In this case, when I wrote down my next step here, because you're dividing, you have to flip and multiply that second fraction. So I kind of factored and flipped and multiplied at the same time. You can see stuff crossed off because you have like terms. And you end up with just x plus 3 on the top and this 4 and this x plus 2 on the bottom. And then I did the same thing for D, except there everything pretty much cancels except for constants, 6/5. Okay, and then for number 4, I'm going to talk through and then just show you the correct work so you can kind of see what happened. First thing I did is did the division here. So I flipped and I multiplied. Notice I crossed this off, but I decided to keep it because the next step here is adding, or actually subtracting these two fractions. Now, over here I have 4 pieces, x squared, x plus 10, x minus 3, x plus 3. When I factor the denominator over here to see what my like denominators have to be, I get an x plus 4 and an x plus 3. So I wanted to keep this x plus 3 here, not cancel it out, because I'd have to include it back anyway. This one needs an x plus 4 included, if you can see that. If you can. So I multiplied that one fraction by x plus 4 over x plus 4. And then this one needs 3 pieces. It needs the x squared, the x plus 10, and the x minus 3. So there's a lot of multiplication going on there. So this part here, all of this work, is I FOILed these two together to get that. Then I distributed the x squared through to get that. And then I multiplied that by x plus 10 to get this. And then back to the front here. So when I FOIL the x plus 4 and that x plus 3 together in the first fraction, I get this over that denominator. When I simplify the multiplication that I did with the second numerator, I end up getting this expression. And when you subtract across the top, you end up getting that on the side if you can read it. Alright, so tomorrow you'll have a test over F2 and F3. And you'll also have an application test over all the standards. So make sure you bring your notes and your standard sheet and you have all your information with you so that you can do both. Alright, this is Chris Cross signing off.